I love Helldivers 2. The squad and I have been religiously playing it since release day. It's legitimately one of the most impressive gaming experiences I've had in years, if not decades. That said, it's fair to point out that the launch hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. While the game is currently crushing all kinds of concurrent player count records, many of us dealt with the side effects of what could be considered somewhat incomplete planning and foresight. Today, we'll be going over the 5 main things Helldivers 2 absolutely must do to convert its launch success into long-term retention among the player base. There is a sense of overall jank and lack of polish to many facets of the game. One of the biggest is how stratagem deployments work. Your call-in beacons, aka Space Pokeball as I now affectionately know it, is extremely temperamental about where it wants to deploy. There are missions where you have to call in a hell bomb to destroy objectives, where the beacon literally refuses to deploy right next to them.
It won't activate.
It won't proc
around here. Yeah.
Other times, it seemingly randomly bounces rather than deploying because it's decided that it doesn't like that particular surface material. While this can create some hilarious moments of panic and team fire, the inconsistency is also very annoying when you're trying to deploy stratagems. Another example is that the spear weapon is completely broken. Its targeting system is unbelievably fickle and inconsistent, leading to something so unreliable that it's basically useless in higher difficulties. Even when targets are clearly visible in their entirety, it seems like pot luck whether the unit wants to lock. Now, of course, we can go deeper and talk about the assortment of bugs, both literal and figurative, but it's fair to say that many of these are already on the devs' radar and will likely get addressed soon. As I've pointed out in past videos, I literally no-life my way to Skull Admiral in record time because this game is so awesome. That said, when you eventually reach the endgame, you soon realize there is none. Requisition slips are useless to you because they cap at 50k, and there's nothing more to buy with them after you max out your stratagems. Samples are equally useless after you max out your ship modules. So is XP, because there is a hard cap on level 50, so the only thing left to farm is medals and super credits. That's all good and well, except, well, once you've unlocked most of the things in the current Warbonds trees, the medals are useless, and currently the items on rotation in the Superstore are just largely reskins of armors whose stats you already have access to. So there's literally no gameplay utility to grinding beyond 50. To top this off, medals themselves cap at 250, so you literally can't even grind to unlock future Warbonds. I've found myself mostly jumping into lower difficulty games of late and helping newer players out because there's so little to do for my own progression. The game desperately needs a larger rotation of items and more meaningful stats on armor pieces in order to give them true utility. Speaking of helping one another out, joining us as a subscriber would help this channel out immensely as we aim to grow into one of the best repositories of Helldivers 2 content out there. I'll be covering all the new content drops with you and giving you the play-by-play of what's viable in the endgame, or at least what currently exists as the endgame. This should come as no surprise to anyone that's unlocked the majority of the game's weapons. We all know that the endgame meta is centered around 2 permutations of the Breaker shotgun, the OG and the Incendiary. None of the other weapons, sans the Slugger and Scorcher for specific automaton attacks, really come close. The weapons are hugely imbalanced, and as people in my comments keep saying, it feels as if each weapon was designed by a different person that wasn't in communication with the one designing the rest. There is a lack of design cohesion and purpose for each weapon. So for now, it's basically all about shotgun spam. The game desperately needs a gun rebalance and potentially even a gun upgrade system like the OG Helldivers to help high-end utility guns like the Scorcher shine more, as they're supposed to. We've all had the crashes. Crashes upon mission completion, crashes as someone joins during mission, crashes as physics events happen during mission, crashes on boot up. Take your pick. There's a crash for every occasion in Helldivers 2. We've all likely been trapped in the pod area while entering our ships. I've even fallen through the ship itself and re-entered the atmosphere manually. I just fell through the ship.
Get on the ship, Ermin.
Bro, I'm still... The game needs a massive amount of quality of life passes in order to tighten up the core experience. The core gameplay loop of Helldivers 2 is very cool and addictive, but at high difficulty levels, it's also supremely annoying. The reason for this is that the game will literally spawn enemy patrols on top of you if you look away, or if you trigger events like extractions. Enemies that don't exist in the game world will suddenly just pop in meters from you for the sole purpose of making your life miserable. I've had it spawn in squads with multiple hulks just a few meters away because I dared to look in another direction. And this is without a bot reinforcement event. The game literally just popped them in. This cheapens the experience, knowing that regardless of how many enemies you take down, more will just pop in, and it breaks the gameplay loop by making you extremely avoidant of combat, which essentially defeats the whole point of playing the game in the first place. They need to find a more intelligent and elegant way to handle the way enemy units are spawned across the maps, and ideally far more consistent ones that are tactically manageable for teams. Those are my 5 biggest gripes with Helldivers 2 after over 200 hours of play. Because I truly want to see this game succeed long-term as a live service, I hope they address as many of its issues as possible and build a long-term thriving community. But what do you think? Did I miss anything? See you next time.